would want to concentrate in our community is learning how to work with your city council members, being very vocal on your concerns. I think it's important that your concerns are heard. You guys really, really push forward this community. You guys sat here and watched this community the past year really pull through some struggles after COVID-19. Nobody was heard. And so now it's time to take advantage of this opportunity. So I'm just let you know my concentration is you guys, your vote and your families. That's my biggest concentration on District 1. If I can do my job right, is to listen to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Huerta. I forgot what I was supposed to do next. Christopher Arvano, please.
Thank you. To that question, I want to say I'm proud to live here. I think we have a great city. When I call the police, they respond. When I call for fire, they respond. I had a little fire in my neighborhood, homeless living in a bush, came right away. So yeah, I'm all for Oxnard. I'm not a doom and gloom person saying that, hey, we don't have a great finance team, because we have and do have a great finance team. I have been through those financials. I have been through the budgets, and I've seen, I will also tell you, every department runs lean and mean, and there is not a lot of fat, including at the council level, because Councilman Perillo works hard because there is no staff. Okay, it's him and maybe one secretary that helps service all the council. So I'm all for Oxnard on how to get things done. The city has developed a 2030 plan. The city also has a mission and vision. And those items I've gone through are pretty much standard for every city. However, they do stand out for our city because the council districts don't have discretionary funds. I came from the county of Los Angeles. I worked there for 16 years. Every district has discretionary funds. They got a staff of about 10. They're able to get all of these things done. But in Oxnard, on the shoestring budget, very little money, $640 million for a large city, makes things very tight. So given that I already talked about discretionary funds, I was going to say, given the lack of discretionary funds, you have a need to work with the other folks and hear what their plans are and what they would like. But I think the guiding principle and saving grace in all of this is that there is a hearty, robust plan, and it's published. Thank you.
Thank you. This is going to be our, oh wait, did Doug not answer yet? I'm very sorry.
No worries, nobody's snarking. I believe that the 20 years that I serve and currently serve as executive director of the Nicaraguan Children's Fund, my executive experience in working with government agencies, nonprofit organizations, private sector, and many areas where we have to come together to have a common goal to solve problems and work for the betterment of people that are less fortunate. Here in Oxnard, we have many problems. And I think we have to honestly speak to each other about those problems. I don't think we need to have some kind of quid pro quo. I'll give you this if you give me that, and have that sort of system, which I think currently exists. I think we have to honestly address these problems, not run away from them. I think we really need to have open, honest dialogue. I think we have to have a lot more public engagement. I think the confidence in our city leadership is at an extremely low level. We have a long history, a lot of problems here in our leadership, and we currently still do. If you go to any city council meeting or any other committee meeting or anything else on Zoom, a lot of meetings are Zoom now, just look and see how many people are watching, how many people are actually engaged. And I believe the reason for that is that people have lost hope that their voices will be heard, that change is possible by their engagement. And I want to turn that around. I want more open engagement. I've had to work with different governments, organizations, different people of different cultures from all over the world in my experience, and been able to bring everybody together with a common goal to serve that mission of serving less fortunate people. I believe that I can do that here with our current council by working very hard. bringing facts to the table, doing my due diligence, and honestly addressing the issues, not running away from them. Thank you very much.
I am collecting cards, so everybody's forgetting their cards, so don't worry about it. That's why you have two, I think. Okay, this is going to be our third and final prepared question. So just like the others, I'm going to read it and then we're going to go through what we just did. What do you see as the top two concerns the city should focus on over the next 3 to 5 years? And how do you think the city should address or tackle these concerns? And it's going to be Mr. Perrello.
Thank you very much for the question. The top two concerns, I've already addressed one of them, to keep the city in a situation where it is moving forward financially and getting better and better financially. The second one is to focus on the residents in the city of Oxnard. The information that is coming out is going to be made available from UCLA, beg your pardon, not USC, Brain Trust that is studying the city of Oxnard. Half the people in the city of Oxnard have a high school education. But if you remove the children that are still going to school, 70% have a high school education. There's a big deal being said about bringing high-paying jobs to Oxnard. There are high-paying jobs in Oxnard. There are people making very good money in some sectors of Oxnard. But one of the biggest issues is the people that live in Oxnard are not qualified for a lot of the high-paying jobs. There's been a push by our city manager, happens to be sitting in the front row, Mr. Newland, to work with the Oxnard College District. The Oxnard College District is one of 3 community college districts: Ventura, Moore Park, and Oxnard. The biggest area in Ventura County is Oxnard. The smallest budget of the 3 community college districts is Oxnard. The classes that are offered at Ventura and Moore Park are not offered in Oxnard. A lot of the people in Oxnard have to work 2 jobs to get by because they don't have the quality education or skill set. You don't have to have a bachelor's, you don't have to have a master's. You have to have the skill to get a better paying job. And there are people looking for those skills. With respect to the city of Oxnard, over the next 5 years, hopefully there's going to be a better collaboration between the Oxnard Community College District and the city of Oxnard. There has already been tremendous inroads made with the Chamber of Commerce looking at that and the city council. There will be a tremendous improvement. But if the city council changes, if it changes and the financial direction changes from what we were, we can be right back where we were.
Okay, next is going to be Mr. Arvello. And I have your card up here already, so you don't.
But you have to read the question. It's the next question.
It's just, what's that?
Which question?
It is, what do you see as the top 2 concerns the city should focus on over the next 3 to 5 years? And how do you think the city should address or tackle these concerns?
All right, thank you.
Absolutely.
Diane Delaney.
All right. Vision for Oxnard, and a statement prior to the vision is that,
Join the meeting.
has substantially helped Oxnard become whole in terms of police and fire and government as well. So if we want to talk about service and resource, we need to talk about money. If we want to talk about money, we're looking at taxes. And so, our property tax is kind of limited in Prop 13. There's also now Proposition 1, Mr. Neal, can you help me out? 120, with it limits the ability of a council to tax or express taxes to its population without a vote. So you can't just put a request for funding out there. 218, there you go, sorry. You can't just put a request for funding out there and get it approved. It's got to be approved by the voters. So that makes operating a city difficult in the respect of you are limited to the funds on hand. And so therefore you need to craft your service and city with the funds you have. So given those limits, I believe that the city of Oxnard has done a great job, including Mr. Perillo, in terms of managing, the money that we have in the city. Look at this beautiful harbor out here. Who else has that? I was raised in South Oxnard. I drive through there every now and then. It's clean. I went to LA this past weekend. Not so nice. So we live here for a reason. I know we have issues, and let's see. The second thing was I was talking about service, so I also like to talk about the fire and policing for my 20 seconds. The crime rate here is pretty low, and given that we have folks coming in as tourists and homes here that are valued in the millions, says a lot about our city. The ability to keep you safe, keep these homes safe, and maintain our property values. Thank you.
Next up, the same question, which I will be happy to repeat. And so I didn't say this before because I just recently learned it. The question is actually on the screen right here, so you can read it that way. Unless you want to hear me again and again and again. Up next, Mr. Martello. That's all right.
Thank you for that question. The first and foremost priority and concern is for our financial house. We need to get it in order. And there's claims that it is in order, that we have balanced budgets, but I don't understand how you can make those claims when we owe the state, to the CalPERS, $323 million in unpaid pension debt. When we have a crumbling infrastructure, and we have roads and alleys, we have a sewer system that needs upgrades by the own engineers' reports. We have all these issues. We need to take care of what we have first. We can't be moving on to these boondoggle projects, these mega $1 million projects that we can't afford. They're putting it on the credit card. They're bond everything. They're bonding something when people are still paying on the original bond. I mean, there will be people that'll go to their graves and they haven't had the benefit of these things that are bonded out. They're passed on to their grandchildren, their great grandchildren. We had this extraordinary tax increase to Measure O, 0.5%. We were promised improvements to our roads, improvements to our parks. Those things didn't happen. They didn't keep their promises. There were unkept promises. Then Measure N was passed in 2020. And what happened? Did they want to fix the roads? Certainly not. We had a PCI which is Pavement Condition Index of 61, and back in 2008, when Measure O was passed and the roads were promised to be fixed, guess what our PCI is today? 65. That's 14 years later. We've had $16 to $17 million extra, and the promises weren't kept. Okay. Then they had Measure O, right? So we're at 1.5% sales tax, right? Then we doubled it to 1.5%, but we didn't just double it. We made it the forever sales tax increase. At least Measure O had a sunset. It was 21 years, but it sunsets in March of 2029. Measure O, I guess we'll have to live with forever. Now, it's about what you do with the money. It's not the money itself. It's the management of that money. Thank you.
Well, they have your card.
Well, you might as well.
I should have just kept the second card out there, I guess. If you can't see it, I can read it.
So my two top concerns here in the city of Oxnard is actually paying attention to the housing development contracts and the LMDs. I'm starting to hear that everybody's having issues of getting their neighborhood lawn mowed, or their neighborhood, or their deviants, was it the dividers in the street? So I'm just trying to, what I'm trying to explain is that this problem started 10 years ago when the collection was built. There was bad deals done in that infrastructure, which caused a lot of free water, and to make that section of our city look nice. A lot of us residents didn't realize that a lot of the residents were promised a lot of amenities, and they never got those amenities. And so at the end, that community started protesting against our community, against our city council, requesting where are their amenities, their LMDs. They're paying Millaroos and they're not getting their yards fixed. Well, This is where measure E, measure O, and all these measures come. When I started highlighting the bad infrastructure, probably a year before I started running for office, these measures came up to trying to fix our problem. At the end, the same individuals behind the scene that actually made these decisions on our infrastructure are the ones that could have fixed the problem from day one. That's why our city manager, Alex Yin, is getting credit for fixing the problem. At the end, my concentration is really, my second concern is really working with the youth. We're talking about education in our college school system. Obviously, I am an asset of our school system. And if we don't have the great support system for our youth, then you're going to have a lot of our youth struggling to succeed. At the end, it's really our local government that's not really doing much for our community. My thing is that I think that the community needs to be heard on a lot of the issues when it comes down to your contracts and your housing developments. You guys are paying a lot for water. You guys are not being spoken the truth, and I can actually get down to the bottom of it. If you guys trust me with your vote, I can really get the support that you guys need, because at the end, nobody's being very transparent to you, not even our city manager. Thank you.
Thank you. Now that has completed our round of prepared questions. And as was suggested to me by someone, very good idea, I'm going to hold on to the placards that are left behind. And the next time you come up, just leave your placard and I'll take care of that for you. Okay, now we're going to go on to the lightning round, and I'm going to try to be as lightning fast as I can. I am, and I've already messed up. So I'm going to select a name. Don't laugh. I'm going to select the name. And then once I've selected the name, make sure you're paying attention, because then I'll read the question. And it's a lightning round, so only one person's going to answer this question, the person selected. And then we'll move on to the next question with the next person, and so on and so forth. So here we go. The first question is going to be for you, Mr. Huerta. And that question is going to come from my pocket, and I don't even know what they are, and I hope I can read them. Okay, attracting business topic. With the anti-business political climate in California, what do you propose to make Oxnard a less worse place to do business? Oh, well, I did not do very good at that.
Well, it's our community, right? We have to really concentrate on our community and the diversity in our community to really make business right. It's about what kind of business we welcome in our community to really serve. It's depending on the infrastructure that we have, the jobs that we have, that would help us concentrate on that ability. Can you repeat the question real quick? A little nervous here.
No, you're okay. Okay.
Yeah.
With the anti-business political climate in California,
Right.
What do you propose to make Oxnard a less worse place to do business?
We'll concentrate on our homeless population, right? A lot of our businesses are being targeted with our homeless. We see a lot of people getting free groceries. I actually did some, I went to local businesses that are being suffered by our homeless population. My concentration is really securing our infrastructure, making sure that when we welcome them into our city, that we'll let them know that their revenue and that their investments are being protected by our economy and the way we handle our business here. I think by making sure that their voices are heard as entrepreneurs and they have the legal background and the support that they need to do business here, I think it's only right that we actually concentrate on the real issues around what they need in regards to creating business here in our city. And that's when it comes down to our infrastructure and our agriculture. You know, there's a lot of opportunity here locally. Thank you.
Next is going to be Mr. Douglas Martello. Doug, your question is about attracting business. How would you propose to attract new business to the city?
Thank you for that question. I'm so glad you gave that to me. This has been a big issue for Oxnard for many, many years. We have some neighbors that are doing a pretty good job. of attracting business. And Oxnard's not doing a very good job, frankly. And one of the big problems that a lot of business people have come to me about is the permitting process. It's been an absolute nightmare for businesses. Now, if I need a permit to build a swimming pool or a shed in my backyard, I can wait. I can wait 6 months, 9 months to get my permit, but businesses can't. They can't wait. Every delay for them is a delay in them starting their business and collecting revenue. So that's a huge issue. We need to clean that up. There's a reason that Measure F passed. That gives an option for a streamlined process for the permitting process. And the city is just slow rolling the implementation of that process. So this is a huge issue. It's a barrier to businesses. Now, the Amazon deal, they almost messed that one up big time because they insisted that they pay for a fire station over there. So Amazon nearly walked away from the table. They had to go get Amazon and bring them back to the table, make concessions and get them here. They didn't treat Amazon very well. Well, thankfully, Amazon realized the opportunity here in Oxnard, and now we have the warehouse. We have a lot of jobs, but they almost messed that one up for us. So we need folks that know how to negotiate with business. We need to make this process streamlined. We need to make it more friendly for businesses to come in and more attractive. We need to provide the infrastructure with housing, transportation, energy, a working workforce that has the skills. We need to build up our educational system, support students and local folks that can get into these higher paying jobs that will support our economy and have a sustainable living. Thank you.
Mr. Perello, this next question is for you. Give me a minute. Lightning round isn't going so fast.
You're doing a good job, Bob.
Thank you. This question is about homelessness. What can you do about our homeless situation?
First, I'm not going to open my house up for the homeless. So I'm putting that right on the table right now. But what I can do is tell you the truth. The truth is that the homeless population in this city is pretty stable. There's not a lot of people that come from the outside to come to Oxnard to be in the homeless population of Oxnard. But one of the biggest issues is the money that is put into the homeless population comes from the state. And when the state sends the money, they don't send it to the city. They send it to the county. And if you can imagine a funnel, the big mouth down to a little neck. By the time it gets to the city, it's late and it's diminished what we could do with it. The homeless population also has a big problem with mental health. Ever since a former governor, Ronald Reagan, shut down the mental health institutions, the mental health hospitals have been shut down. There's not a place for the people that have legitimate mental health situations. That has to change. But I'm a city councilman, I'm not a state legislator. You have state legislators. The other part is with mental health comes administration of those programs. The county has that. It's an opportunity for the county and the city to work together closer than they have in the past to distribute the problems and not just lay it on the city of Oxnard. City of Oxnard is building a homeless solution center. A lot of people are mad about the money. Mr. Partello hammers the city of Oxnard continuously. I've held my tongue for a long time here. Mr. Partello is loaded with a lot of misinformation. And he's an advocate and an apostle of Mr. Starr sitting in the front row, who's done a lot of damage to the city. With respect to what's going on with the homeless population and how we're going to take care of it, the city of Oxnard is doing more than any other city in this county. When the rest of the county cities step up the way Oxnard has, a lot more can be done. But the problem comes from the way the money is funneled to the city of Oxnard. It comes from the state to the county to the city. My time's up. Thank you.
And Mr. Arville, the final question in this first lightning round will be for you. Water quality. Water quality is a significant issue in the Channel Islands Harbor. The cost for monitoring, testing, and mitigation, as well as squaring and executing solutions is ongoing. sourcing and executing solutions is ongoing. How do you see this being funded? Do you need me to read that again? Yeah, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. This is a very important question for this community. I understand there's an assessment district or a maintenance district that was being discussed. And then there's a partnership with the city of Oxnard. And I know that there's a group out here that has been testing the water. There was some funding that came from the county, I believe, $150,000 that allowed this group to get the water tested. And I think more importantly, this will be one of the key issues that I would work on as well. You know, the Edison plant used to have a cooling pump, and I know you're all aware of that. They used to pump billions of gallons of water through. And this is part of the reason that, and I read this, so it's out all there on the internet. I know Mr. Perillo is involved and several people here, Debbie. But just to say that the high volume pumps that were out there are not available at this time. But I think we should, I mean, as a city, take a look at what the actual volume of flow that would be required. Maybe it's not billions, maybe it can be done with a lower volume pump to help process that water through the channel and get it across. Now, I also know there's two owners of the property out at the so-called Edison plant, NRG, and I don't recall what the other is, but one owns the channel and the other owns the property. So the city really needs to do something with that. I know there was a big legal issue with ownership of the plant and then developing another plant. I mean, it was a natural gas plant. So as we move forward in the state of California, trying to do clean energy, I think this is a big issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're on to our second lightning round. And I have enough cards, or questions rather, questions, to do one more lightning round. And then I have two additional cards that I'm going to go ahead and ask those questions of all of the candidates, just to be fair, and get the questions that were submitted asked. So, the person first, question next, right? Yeah. Mr. Arvello, you are up. And your question is not on my phone, it's in my pocket. Affordable housing. Many say we need affordable housing in Oxnard to attract more business to the city. How would you define affordable housing for the city of Oxnard?
2 minutes.
Yes.
So without being snarky, that's a loaded question. Because in the city of Oxnard, the median housing price is $716,000. If you have available $100,000 to put down on a home, you'll end up at 600. Let's just say it's 616 minus 100. You have to have an income of $140,000 a year to make that $4,000 a month mortgage. So what is the definition of low income housing? And then the question is, who gets it? So we do have a program in place. The city has a low income plan, low income housing and homeless as well. So I would follow by those plans because there's federal money involved, there's state money involved. And the last piece of this is I came from LA County, and about 3 years ago, they were given $2 billion with a B, and they couldn't spend that money on this for housing the homeless. One, the folks don't want to be housed. And two, when it comes to a location where you can purchase a property, the folks didn't want that in their community. So this is a big issue. And I'm not going to say that I have an answer to it, but I do recognize this. And oh, by the way, I ran the Department of Psychiatry at LAC USC. So I'm familiar with homeless folks and I'm familiar with the problems that they bring. And I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arvello. Next is going to be Mr. Portello. And your question. Police. will you increase traffic police? Oh. Sorry.
You know by now, right? I believe that traffic is a huge problem in Oxnard as well as parking. And I think what we need to do is we need to make sure that we're allocating the resources effectively to meet all the safety needs. So we need to not just look at traffic itself, but we need to look at all the issues with crime and the other issues that our safety officers have to deal with. So if in terms of traffic, what we need is we need them to actually enforce the laws. So we need them to do a better job of enforcement of the laws. I mean, there's time and time again when it's brought to the city council's attention of times when there's obvious violations that are happening and the police are just ignoring it. At a neighborhood council meeting the other day, they said, well, at 25-mile-an-hour zone, yeah, I usually stop people when they're going 35 to 40. No, you need to enforce the law. We need to better utilize the resources and police that we have now. We need to hold people accountable to do the proper job that they're paid for. They're well compensated. And actually, they claim that crime has gone down in the last 4 or 5 years. Yet they say we need 10 more full-time positions on the police force. There are actually 11 vacated full-time positions in the budget that they went back for we don't know how long, right? And so when Chief Whitney was put on the spot by myself, he actually said, yeah, we've been using that money for overtime. So I think, again, we come back to the management of money, the management of resources, make sure that we're looking at the global picture of safety for our community. Traffic is certainly one of them. If the analysis comes back that there are traffic issues that are not being addressed because of a lack of resources, human resources, then I think we need to address that and put those resources there. We often have a problem, too many folks in this department, not enough in that department. And it's again, comes to mismanagement of our departments. Thank you.
Thank you. And up next, Eduardo Huerta. Got you set up. See how smooth this is
I think
gonna
I
go
just
now?
got tape it to my chest here and then I forget it.
No, that's
Excuse
okay.
my
No,
reach,
that's
my
okay. Don't worry
boarding
about
house reach.
it. Eduardo, your question. Oxnard does not monetize its wonderful coast. How do you see the city maximizing this resource? The coast.
Well, I grew up on the beach, Baby Beach. I used to go there every Saturday, spend some time there. I heard it's polluted now. So first of all, just concentrating getting it cleaned so we can actually make access to our beaches. Youth programs, I was driving down the coast and I saw Sandy's summer camps, beach camp. And it's actually a youth program on the beach where parents come with their kids and spend a whole day on the activity on the beach and kind of just enjoy the ocean. There was kayak activities, there was all kinds of stuff and recreational activities. I think just utilizing the resources that our beach has. We have many sections. We have Oxnard Shores, we have Silver Strand, we have Baby Beach, and then we have which is Surfers Point. A lot of stuff that we can do with our beach is really just highlighting the beauty of it. I know that we're going to have the Hyatt here with restaurants and bars. So just kind of working with these new businesses and the revenue that's going to be coming into your community, concentrating on your recreational areas, making sure that you guys have funding for that, making sure that your beach looks nice. Beach cleanups, probably once or twice a month, just to kind of help you guys out, maintain that. I know there was issues with a lot of the city coming in and enjoying the beach during the weekends. And so I figured trying to build some type of funding to make sure that we either hire city court to come by and pick up the trash on the weekends after the parties. I'm kind of just assisting you guys because you guys have really been a big part of this community. From what I understand, you guys are a community that really is involved. And so I want to keep you guys involved. I think that you guys need to really, you guys really need a candidate that's really going to show the rest of the city how important they are to you guys, because at the end, we have a lot of essential working families that were neglected from a lot of city officials during COVID. And I think it's time for us to really show the backbone of our city, which is the beach area. And that's my hardest concentration would be working with you guys to see what we can do to help the city, because I know that you guys are very interested in getting involved. Thank you.
Thank you. And Bert, as you know, you are the last one to answer in this lightning round, this final lightning round. This question is about attracting business. We need to attract companies with higher paying jobs to improve the city's economy and people's quality of life. What kind of jobs would qualify as high paying jobs? What qualifications and skills would be required for these jobs?
Thank you for the question. I can't give you the name of the company that should come in here for the high paying jobs, but I can tell you there are jobs here that are high paying that those employers cannot get employees that reside in the city of Oxnard. That's one of the complaints that they bring to our city. That's one of the reasons the Chamber of Commerce has endorsed me. That's one of the reasons Tri-County Labor has endorsed me. Because they're looking to get something better for the residents that are here. They're not looking to bring somebody in who operates and wants to change the rules of how they operate so that they can take their profits and leave. They want to have the money staying with the people that live in Oxnard. It's like what I would like to do. With respect to bringing businesses in, I've already mentioned, there's a plan to work with the college system so that people will have skills. You don't need to be a brain surgeon. You don't need to be an accountant. You don't need to be a lawyer. You don't have to have the college education, but you have to have the skills that are needed for these high-tech jobs that are in the city of Oxnard. I'd like to go back and address something that was said about Amazon. It's a misnomer. Amazon was stopped the first time around because they didn't want to put the fire protection for the people that worked in there. And the city said no, to the credit of our fire chief. And they left. Our new city manager enticed them to come back and talk to us. But one of the things that Mr. Partello and Mr. Starr don't like to talk about is it wasn't our property and it wasn't our money, and we don't own Amazon. We try to make an opportunity for a firm to operate here. An incident that I was just involved in at the end of Wainemi Road, there's a trucking outfit that worked on the property, built it up, and was competing with everybody else in town from Santa Paula. No permits, no nothing. And I complained. And it took a lot of work to get the complaint, but they were shut down. One of the reasons that I believe, because the Chamber of Commerce has never ever endorsed me. This time they did, because I'm even-handed with how the hell business is supposed to operate here. It's not good for the guy in the front row and not good for the guy in the back row. It's got to be the same for everybody. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Mr. Partello. Okay, and as I mentioned, that's the last of the lightning round questions. I have 2 cards remaining, so I can't do a lightning round. That would not be fair. So I am just going to do as we did with the earlier questions. And here we go. Oh, I forgot my box. Things were going so good. Okay, see, somebody should have had that liquor. The bar should have been open. Okay, Bert, you're back up again. But you don't need to get up yet because I'll read the question first. Change direction. Some candidates claim the city needs a change of direction. Do you agree or disagree? And if so, what specifically?
Thank you for the question. I think one of the main candidates, Mr. Partello, is the guy that really wants to change the direction. He's the most vocal about it. But he brags that he was here for 36 years. I don't recall him ever coming to council and complaining. I sure don't remember him coming to council when it was going down the tubes. I saw Mr. Starr come. Mr. Starr ran for office multiple times and lost. He was a snake oil salesman. Cost the city a lot of money. But the city is not changing, according to Mr. Partello. The city has sidewalks, the equivalent if you were to walk the sidewalks further than if you were to walk from here to San Francisco. The city has street lanes, not a 2-lane street, but a single lane, equivalent to the border of the state of New Mexico. And they're maintaining. Any of you that can drive through the city in the last 6 months and not see improvements, please get your eyes checked. The issues that are going on in Oxnard with respect to money, as Mr. Partello says, the financial house, I take it as a personal affront. I was involved in a whistleblower program. I was involved in a finance committee. I was involved in going after a former city manager. And they're giving me credit for the former city manager quitting on the city because he lied. Because the issues that came out to be shown were an audit. And an audit that came out because the district attorney and the FBI went through the city of Oxnard. A lot of the questions that were never given to the residents of Oxnard took place much earlier than 36 years ago. I didn't realize how bad it was financially. I got involved in my council because people were sick in my neighborhood, because deals had been cut to put industrial waste through the residents in the neighborhood that I live in, South Bank. And people were sick. Nobody got in trouble because the records were shredded. My wife got me to run for an office in the council, and I got involved in my neighborhood council. Some say the worst thing that ever happened to me. I've been very happy and extremely lucky that she did, because when I lost her, I had something to do. And I'm telling you, the claims that are made about the finances, they're lies. And I will tell you one other thing. My time's up, sorry. Beg your pardon.
Thank you, Bruce. Next, same question. Mr. Douglas Martello. And I will repeat the question. Change direction. Some candidates claim the city needs a change of direction. Do you agree or disagree? And if so, what specifically?
I absolutely agree. And that's why I'm running for city council. I do not like the representation we've had. I think they talk a lot about accountability and transparency and all those things, but talk is pretty cheap. We need action. We need a change. Time and time again in my process of reading budget reports, CAFR reports, going to meetings, getting educated about what's going on in our city. It started for me with the landscaping. I live in North Oxnard, over in the Cabrillo neighborhood. It's a very nice neighborhood. It's lovely. I moved there in 1992. The landscaping was great. It was well maintained. And then I retired about 3 years ago. And then my opponent here has pointed out that I wasn't involved before. I think there was a lot of people not involved before because we trusted our local government to do the job. We pay taxes. We expect them to do it. And we have that expectation that that job's going to be done very well. But when I'm walking the dogs, I'm noticing how bad the landscaping is. And so I actually went out there and did something about it. I actually transformed the perimeter of my neighborhood because it went from Sleepy Hollow to 2 years later from blood, sweat, and tears to really back to being nice again. A neighborhood I could be proud of again. And that's why I'm here and I'm involved, because I love Oxnard and we do need change desperately. You can't keep pointing to the past and say how bad it is and then say, oh, we're doing such a wonderful job. No, I'm sorry. You're not doing a great job. The bar that they have set is so low. We need to set that bar much higher. We need to have much higher expectations for the performance of our city leaders and staff. And I'm not critical of all the staff, which they like to say, oh, you're just bashing the staff all the time. We have great staff members doing a great job. It's the management. It's the management of our city. It's known all throughout, everywhere you go, about the mismanagement in Oxnard. And we need to turn that around, and I can do that.
Thank you. On the box. This will be the last time they ask me to do this. Eduardo, same question. Change direction. Some candidates claim the city needs a change of direction. Do you agree or disagree? And if so, what specifically?
I honestly agree. I think that we already started the change of direction. I want to see with the great help of Aaron Starr highlighting the issues with our water and being overcharged in our water for the past 2, 3, 4 years. And so I wanted to say, as much as we can talk bad about Aaron, we all have to take responsibility on our position. I would think we have a new city manager. He has no responsibility over the past actions in the past, but at the end, he has good friends supporting him and making him look good when it comes down to supporting our infrastructure. But I'm trying to say is it's enough of the bashing. With one of another. I think it's important that we honestly concentrate on our community. The change that the city really needs is concentrating on our it's really just concentrating on our homeless population, our veterans, and our seniors. Really, we have to understand that these are the citizens, residents that are being affected by our infrastructure, only because of the security of the cost of living has gone so high that people really depend on social security and whatnot. And so I'm just trying to say is that my biggest thing is to really concentrate on each neighborhood here in our city, really see what the needs of each residents, neighborhood councils. I know a lot of neighborhoods have changed. We have a lot of rentals in between homeowners. It's just really, really paying attention to those issues, and also making sure that our water bill doesn't go high, and actually moderating our water bill, making sure and seeing where our water is being used, and making sure that our residents pay low water rates on their water. Another change of direction that I would like to support here in the city of Oxnard is the way the city council works with constituents. I'm a consultant. I used to work for Sacramento. It was hard for me to walk into the city manager's office and deal with Bricarello when they're attacking my character, calling me mentally disabled or have a mental issue, disregarding a lot of the infrastructure issues that I raised on them when it came down to a ADA compliant home that was remodeled through the state because of a client that was paralyzed through treatment from the school district, never once paid. So she was awarded a remodel for her compliant home due to mismanagement of funds and how our city plan department runs. There was fraud in between the remodel, which kind of highlights a lot of change in our infrastructure, which highlighted the change throughout our whole state. And so I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows my concentration is our community. Thank you.
Been brought to my attention that no one knows who Doug is. All this time, Doug. Just kidding. Chris, you're up on this question. You're going to be our final candidate answering our second to last question here. Again, change direction. Some candidates claim the city needs a change of direction. Do you agree or disagree? And if so, what specifically?
I said earlier that I really enjoy living in this town. I grew up here. I also mentioned the response time for the police and fire, very important. A clean city, a police force that responds, drives business, and happy homeowners, home values. So here we have a city, it's been discussed and a question come up about housing and affordable housing. It's like in this town here, the home in my neighborhood, the North Bank, South Bank actually, sold for 1.25 million. So there is an issue here, and I don't think it's the council. The council can't drive it too much. We are we are directed by the amount of funding we have within that budget structure, and the police department consumes about 300 million of that. The fire department, another 100 million. So there's 400 million. The general fund is about 200 million. So it's, in the grand scheme of things, it's not very much. Now, we want to talk about what needs to get changed. What would you change? We have a clean community. There's business here. You had Amazon. You got Costco here that chose to do business here instead of some other city. There's a reason. We have easy access to the highways. So I'm not so sure. We do have our issues, and what I was trying to say earlier is that my idea to get into the finance side of it is to more properly define and move things around so that when we talk about landscape maintenance districts, we get what we're paying for. And I know that money's there because we pay it in our tax. So the adjustment of the whole city operation will take some doing and additional finance. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next for our final question. Chris, you're back up. Sorry. Put your nameplates up here, so that's nice. Deficiencies. What, in your opinion, is Oxnard's biggest deficiency and or challenge?
That's a good one. So we talked about revenue stream for the city of Oxnard, and I mentioned I grew up in South Oxnard. In Oxnard, there's a number of non-owner occupied residences, and they're stapled down to the Prop 13 rates. And I don't know how we go about obtaining additional, and I hate to say this in this room because my wife is a landlord, but you know, there is a need to add to the resource pool if people are going to rent out their homes. And I mentioned I grew up in South Oxnard. You have a census of 200, is it 200,000, 204,000 plus. And we all know that's way undercounted, right? We have a transient population, people live in the garages, people bunking up in rooms, which is a necessity because of the property values and the price of living here. But I'm losing my train of thought. One more time.
One more time?
Yeah.
What in your opinion is Oxnard's biggest deficiency?
Oh, deficiency.
And
So-
challenge?
So, yeah, so I'm sorry. The revenue stream coming from taxes, Prop 13. You know, I think if we had more money, we could do a lot more things. And that's it. I don't have anything else to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Up next, same question. Eduardo. Deficiencies. What, in your opinion, is Oxnard's biggest deficiency and or challenge?
Biggest deficiency would be education and jobs. Honestly, it makes me feel bad that we have city council targeting how bad we are in education in our school system here in Oxnard. We used to have the biker program, which was built to help residents, like Burke was highlighting. So my biggest deficiency would be working with school districts and making sure that these students get the concentration that they need, so we don't have city council members not giving the support system that they need. That's what I'm hearing here. When it comes down to cost of living, making sure that we attract good paying jobs, not high paying jobs, just good paying jobs that would actually better suit our cost of living and affordable. I don't know how many, I don't have kids. I don't know what it is to support a kid. But I know a lot of you guys work hard to send your kids to school. Some of them, we have a good university, Channel Islands State University. A lot of us want to stay home. I had to really leave the city of Oxford to find the support, the mentors that I needed to make myself grow to really be here today. It's very unfortunate that a lot of us that are immigrants or come from immigrant families have to do that. So to hear people make a platform out of a political system and an educational system that has failed, to see Alex Nguyen, Vaporillo sit there and just run on political issues, events, and not really concentrate on these issues, knowing that I helped them connect these dots. That's very disgraceful to this community. And no matter how much you want to make yourselves look good, everybody needs to understand the strength, what it took to really get the attention we needed. And Mr. Nguyen, you look really good in your suit today. But I think it's very, very intelligent, to be honest. When I first called you, I sat with Gabe Turan about these issues, about the infrastructure, and you decided to ignore me.
So I think the moderator should intercede.
And so I'm just trying to say that at the end, I'm sorry about that, ma'am. So I'm just trying to say we need to concentrate on the real issues. And so if we want to build communication and trust, it's really when you walk into a city council member's office, is that they listen to you, sit there and really pay attention to you. And if they can help you, help you. And if they can't tell you, I can't help you. But at the end, it's really important that we really create change in our community and really make you guys a priority and important. Because we all are strong families in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Doug. What, in your opinion, is Oxnard's biggest deficiency and or challenge?
I believe that the biggest deficiency is a lack of true accountability and transparency and efficiency in our local government. There's a lot of talk about these things, but we're not actually seeing it. When Measure O was passed, they actually had an account that identified Measure O. They had a board to oversee, and the chair of that committee was very displeased in the way the money was spent. Now with Measure E, they don't even have an account. Now those are general tax increases. So it all goes into the general fund, right? But when promises are made, when we get these tax increases, then we need to know how they're actually being applied and that those promises are kept. they wouldn't put an account number on Measure E money so that we could better track that spending and find out, are they really keeping their promises? So we've seen time and time again with secret LMD portions of audits, with things that have gone on with the assessment districts that are questionable at best. I went through the LMD engineers report and found out that of all the LMDs, 55% were all going toward administrative costs. So over 50 cents of every dollar was going for administrative costs. And we wonder why our trees are not getting trimmed. That's what I was wondering, why the landscaping is no longer getting done. And that's what brought me in to be more civically engaged, finding out the facts, getting the information for myself. There's a lack of accountability. There's a lack of good management of our dollars. It's not a lack of dollars, but it's the management of dollars. You cannot solve fiscal mismanagement by throwing more money at the problem. You got to solve that problem first and then better allocate your resources. There's only so much money that comes in revenue. And so there's only so much money to spend in the pie of setting the priorities for giving basic services. You can't keep overspending and expect not to have serious problems. Thank you.
Bert? He just spoke as you. There you go.
I really don't like these. I just don't want to keep them here.
Same question, Bert. Deficiencies, what in your opinion? Is the biggest.
Thank you for the question. And again, I want to thank the people that have put this on. When I first got involved in my neighborhood council, there were many more active neighborhood councils and there were forums like this. This is a good turnout, but there were many more. Unfortunately, this has kind of fallen off. Some people will say it's because nobody cares about what's going on and things are getting worse. If things had gotten worse, the voters wouldn't have trusted the city of Oxnard by passing Measure E. Mr. Partello complains about what's going on. If Measure E was not here, we would be in deep, you know what? We'd be looking possibly at more layoffs. When layoffs were required, I voted to lay people off. I voted to shut the PAC. I voted to shut down the Performing Arts Center. I voted to make this golf course an item of affluence in Mr. Partello's neighborhood pay its own way. Tired of the North End getting the best advantage of things, Mr. Partello's neighborhood. And the issue with respect to infrastructure, I've already mentioned the lengths of streets and sidewalks. And people say we're not spending money. Fiscal year 18-19, we spent $7 million on the streets, $7 million. Fiscal year 22-23, we're going to spend $22 million. That didn't come out of thin air. Measure E was not a separate item on the city council budget because it goes into the general fund to be distributed and spent as needed. With respect to the drought and the water, the city of Oxnard spent a lot of money on a water plant, filtration, but it's not allowed to be put into the ground as drinking water yet. With respect to the homeless, the city of Oxnard helped feed 99,000 people in the last year. With respect to the illegal dumping and the infrastructure, the city of Oxnard picked up 4,060 mattresses, camps, homeless camps, 550, refrigerators, 665. The residents in Oxnard should look at the city of Oxnard employees as an asset, not as something to badmouth. And I do agree, when you see a cop sitting in a car and somebody runs a red light, I get mad too. But figure out, where was he getting called to?
That wraps up all of the questions that we had, but we're going to do another round and we're going to call it candidate's choice. If candidates, there's a question that was asked in the lightning round that you did not get to answer and you would like to answer. We'll go alphabetically and we will let you pick the question that was already asked by someone else if you want. And you just let us know what that question was. Lovely Carol over here, who is our question keeper, will then find that question. Mr. Aravello, is there a question that you would like to read that you did not get the chance, or answer that you did not get the chance?
Yeah, I do want to make a statement though.
There will be a time for that at the very end. Yeah. Mr. Huerta,
Regards to law enforcement, the police.
the police, absolutely. This is Eduardo Huerta. We're just gonna go without name. Oh, thank you.
You guys.
Police, will you increase police traffic?
Police traffic. Well, it depends where we need police trafficking at. If we need police trafficking around our homeless encampments, if we need police trafficking on our streets to cross our students from, I mean, I think we need a different type of. I think we need a different type of concentration on how our police actually handles our community and really concentrates on calls, because I think that we're giving a lot of support to our local law enforcement and our police department and our fire department, but I personally, I'm not sure how many of you guys have picked up the phone and called law enforcement agencies or the law enforcement or the police to ask for assistance. So I think they're pretty overwhelmed on all the calls. Some people are left behind or some people are ignored. Some people are actually waiting for 2 hours before they even get assisted on calls. And I think that we actually need to hire more police officers to really provide the service that we need to provide the public safety for our neighborhoods, especially the beach area that are concentrated next to the, I noticed a lot of the homeless encampment, a lot of people walk to your harbor to get to the city. So I think a lot of support for those issues is what we need to concentrate on. But yes, we do need more police officers in the field, and we actually need to support their jobs, because at the end, it's us council members that help them make look good, and it's the resources that we find for them to make their jobs solid and to make the community safe and secure. Thank you.
Thank you, Eduardo. Doug, is there a question you would like? Yes. And that question was, what can you do about our homeless situation, Doug?
The homeless crisis is not something that can be solved by Oxnard alone. It really needs everybody to come together at all levels, including the community. This is a subject that's very close to my heart. I was a runaway at 16. I lived half of my life homeless. My dad would not pay the rent because of his business ventures. He was taking risks and they weren't coming to fruition. I'd have to live in the station wagon with him. My sister would go to my grandma's trailer, and we lived half of our life as homeless. When I was 16, again, the rent wasn't paid. We were living in Ohio then. It was -50 below zero. I sold my stereo. I came out to California, back to California. I'm born here. I had $5 in my pocket. I had a duffel bag of my clothes. I understand homelessness firsthand. I feel for those people. We have to have compassion for these people. We have to understand that these are human beings, but we also have to understand that there are issues that they bring to our communities. A lot of these folks that have homes, they've worked hard to get what they have, and they deserve to live in peace, to live in safety, and the comfort of all their hard-earned labors too. So you need to balance those two issues, right? That folks have a right for their own communities to be safe, to be clean, to be kept. But we've got to address this issue in a way that's more cost effective. $40 million solution centers, when you put all your eggs in one basket, you're leaving 90% of the homeless population in Oxnard out in the cold. You've actually got to get out there like I do and talk with those people. Get them to buy in, build trust, build understanding between them. I've gotten the homeless to clean up their encampments. We removed 80 tons of garbage out of Halico. I give them water, I give them commodes, I give them resources and tools that they can get human dignity for themselves. And this is the answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Perillo. Is there a
Question
question
about financing?
about financing? Tracking business, is that what I wanted to say? I'm going to read a question and I hope it's the one you're talking about. Attract business. We need to attract companies with higher paying jobs to improve the city's economy and people's quality of life. What kind of jobs would qualify as higher paying jobs? What qualifications and skills would be required for those jobs?
As I said before on that matter, I don't know the names of the skills or the job that will come. There are jobs here like that. But one thing that will bring a person to bring themselves and their company and take a chance on Oxnard is the financial situation of the city of Oxnard. After the investigation in the city of Oxnard, there was an audit and it was produced 154 findings, major findings. I had the opportunity to go to Sacramento to talk to the state controller and the treasurer. It was an interesting eye-opening experience. Since then, we had a city manager that came in and quit on us the second day of the fire. And then we were able to get another city manager, a gentleman that's been badmouthed sitting in the front row. And Mr. Patella, before you leave tonight, I hope you give the gentleman an apology. When I mentioned to you that he gave up $25,000 of his salary when we were going to ask the employees to take a cut, he called me a liar. And I told you when I took a 25% cut of my salary, he called me a liar again. But I hope that you apologize to him.
Moderator needs to step in here.
Maybe the moderator does. But besides from that, what's happened in the city of Oxnard now, we have a positive balance in the budget. The budgets match. We've built up the reserves. The audits, 154 findings down to 3, and 2 of them are insignificant, and 1 of them is a repeat from the past being worked on. The bond ratings have gone up. The reserves have gone up. The findings in the city of Oxnard, in the financial house of the city of Oxnard, is tremendously in good shape. There are other communities that are asking us, how have we done that? Part of it is because of what the residents found, they approved Measure E. Measure E, something that Mr. Partello vehemently opposed along with Mr. Starr. And Measure E is one of the things that has helped us tremendously, along with Measure O. 2 of the members of the Measure O oversight are sitting in the room. If you get an opportunity, ask them some questions. The city of Oxnard is in much, thank you very much.
Moderator, I believe I should have an opportunity to respond to that personal.
Okay, hold on. As the moderator, I'm not going to step in unless I see it necessary. I have not seen that yet. We still have that's lovely. We still have an opportunity for you to do that, Doug. Okay, thank you. Okay, now it's time for closing comments, where you will each get 3 minutes. So we will go again in alphabetical order as we did with the opening statements, if that's okay. Well, whether it is or not, it's just fair. It's fair. Sorry. So we're going to go ahead at this time and invite Christopher back up. And Christopher, you have 3 minutes for your closing statement. And in the closing statement, let me say, Doug, or all candidates rather, your closing statement, you can use this opportunity to rebut anything. So use it as you will, or as you see fit, for sure.
Could I ask though?
Oh,
Please no attacks on one
yeah,
another.
you know
We
what, I
have
think,
better things to do.
I really think we've been very civil here for the most part, and I would ask that we just continue to do that. I don't think anyone needs to step in. I think we're all adults and we've been, let's just continue to be respectful. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to come and speak with you. Statement. First, I want to clarify, voter education is key. Someone asked me about, well, hey, how come you don't have signs out there? Why didn't you spend that money? And the voter book has everything I'm about. So I figured I need to spend that money. But I brought that up because several times the level of education in Oxnard has been brought up as it is the responsibility of the city. It is not. We have an Oxnard Elementary School District, and we have a community college district. We have a University of California, Channel Islands within 10 miles of us. So I just want to clarify that the city of Oxnard is not responsible for education. In a closing statement here, I raised my family here. I'm proud to be a citizen of Oxnard. People retiring, I will always tell them, if they like water and they like boating, they should come here and retire here in Oxnard, spend their retirement dollars and their time here. I mentioned also earlier that my reason for wanting to run is to kind of adjust the finances. And I'm not saying that there's anything that is untoward. I just know that my district pays an amount of money, and I'd like to see if we can't rearrange that. And I think, with the limited funding, it's not infinite, it's finite. We have to do those things. I don't have anything else to say. But again, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Huerta, your closing statements.
First, I just want to thank everybody for this opportunity. It's been a blessing to actually be here in front of you guys, to speak a little bit about the real issues of the city. And maybe wasn't well prepared because I really don't, I'm very involved in this community, I'm born and raised here. When it comes down to the real issues, when it comes down to me being as residents, that's where I sit and stand with you guys. I have been living in the city for about 10-15 years. And so I think we all know the struggles when it comes down to personal issues with their councils or neighborhoods, law enforcement. So my thing is just to solidify and make sure that communication as well between all agencies around resources, nonprofits. A lot of our nonprofits failed. It took a lot for me and a lot of strength to really fight for this community to get the attention and support that Bert and Alex needed. At the end, it's a good system that was built around our state that's going to provide the right resources for our community. At the end, it's not really so much us that do the job. We're just the face of the cover of the book. The real book is the staffers behind the scenes. So if any of us wants to take credit of what we've done, it's the staffers behind in Sacramento and our city that really did the great job here. So for us to really sit here and say, I did this and I did that, no, because I sat behind a desk, computer, a phone, and did emails and communicated, and change happened. Aaron did a lot. Bert started the process with homeless encampments. He highlighted the deficiency within our city and nonprofits. We all did it as a team. So I hope that we all make the right decision on the right candidate for our community. I build campaigns. I'm a campaign manager. I love to create change in communities. So all I ask you guys is to really focus on the real issues of your community and really support the right candidate. And thank you.
Doug, come on up. And again, you have the time to rebut during this time.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you very much for putting together this forum. We really appreciate it. I think it's very important that voters make an informed decision. And one of the ways is to actually meet the candidates, hear from the candidates. And so I'm glad that all of you took the opportunity to come and take your time to listen to us. Unfortunately, I think what we had on display here tonight is one of the reasons that we're having difficulties here in Oxnard in solving problems. I think that this kind of vitriol and this kind of, hate, I don't know what better to say about it. And these kind of accusations and name calling and mudslinging, it's deplorable, it's despicable. And we shouldn't be involved in it, any of us. So my opponent said that I lied, right? But he didn't share any proof of that other than just his statement. He's actually been on the dais and used the bully pulpit to call a citizen in good standing who's been actively involved in the community, donating thousands of hours in volunteer work for homelessness, cleaning up landscaping with no proof. Now, the issue about Alex Wynn, during the COVID time, he gave back $25,000 of his salary, and other employees deferred part of their compensation for that time that the city was struggling financially. So Alex Wynn is a city staff person. He's not an elected official. So Alex Wynn himself put out a news release that said that when state and federal money comes back in, those deferments and givebacks would be given back to those employees. Since he's an employee, it was a reasonable assumption that he was also talking about himself. So in my telephone conversation with Bert, I was trying to get him to do what he did in 2018 with Oscar Madrigal, to go ahead and put it to a vote to make an agenda item for the secret portion of the LMB audit. And then we got on the topic of Alex Wynn. And so it was actually Bert that called me a liar, but I wasn't lying. As I understood the facts, that that money would be given back when state and federal money come in. So that was my understanding. Our city manager even put out a news release to that effect. So that was my understanding. So if he believes that maybe I got, my perception of that wrong, that's fine. But, to use the bully pulpit, to use this, to call people liars, this is part of the problem that we face with Aaron Starr. He's been vilified. This is a gentleman that has a vision for Oxnard himself. He is one of many sources of information that I've come to so I can better understand the running of our city, the issues involved. I reach out to many folks, and he's just one of them. And I'm very proud to have gained a lot of knowledge and information from this gentleman here. Thank you.
Thank you. And Bert.
Thank you. If I owe an apology to anybody in this room, you got an apology. I want to thank you for publicly saying that you didn't take the money. And of all the elected officials, I was the one that took a 25% cut. No one else did. And I didn't get it back. And I didn't ask for it back. With respect to telling the truth, I've been called a lot of things, but I haven't been called a liar. And with respect to telling the truth, if I make a mistake, I'll publicly admit it. I didn't make a mistake with what I said here. The people that are believing the city of Oxnard is being run badly, and the people that are pushing to change things in the city of Oxnard, to cripple the city of Oxnard, take a look where we would be if Measure E was not here. Take a look where we'll be if we lose Measure O. When I sat in that closed session and they were looking at foreclosure for the city of Oxnard because the bonds are failing, and we were going to keep the people running the water department, the sewer department, the majority of the police and fire. Everyone else was losing a job. Everyone else was losing a job. They hustled to find money to save one single bond. And in saving that bond, what they called it a domino effect did not happen. The city manager bailed, gave us an email. He was taking a job in Vallejo, was being offered that night. That's how he quit on us. We hustled, had an interim city manager, Scott Whitney, a former police chief, and we hired a new city manager. We took a risk on the city manager. He's been the best thing, in my opinion, that's happened to this city in the lifetime that I've been in the city. He's not a saint. I don't see anybody here as being a saint, but he's done a hell of a job for the city. I'm very fortunate that this council thought that he did a good enough job. They extended his contract 5 years. If they didn't like his work, they wouldn't have extended it 5 years. And when it came to extending his contract, the doomsayers and the naysayers, none of them came up to complain because they saw what's going on in the city of Oxnard. I asked for your vote to run and maintain my seat on this council because I started a job and I intend to finish it. If you see differently, that's your choice. We're fortunate to live in this city. But I'm telling you, a lot of the comments that have been made tonight, except for the gentleman on the end, have been right off the railroad tracks. It will not take much to get this city back into a spot that it was if you get people on board that want to complain about things. And the CFD in an audit, the facts of that was Mr. Oscar Madrigal and I voted to bring it out of closed session and put it on an agenda. But because no other council member would vote to bring it out of closed session, it's what I told you about a majority. We currently have 7 people in the council and you need 4. At that time, you needed 3. So it's a closed session item and the audit cannot be released. And if you brought it out once, you can't bring it out a second time. So it's going to take some other council members. I hope that I can get your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Varela. Okay. Wow, that went off without a hitch, I think. That we think we did very well. Thank you very much. And no bars. First, I want to thank the 4 of you. I have, doesn't matter what I have, but I know how important it is, the risk that you take in running on, and I appreciate that. And I think that we all appreciate you guys putting your neck out, sticking your neck out to run because you care for this community. So thank every one of these guys here. And then thank you also to Renee, Carol, Debbie, and Dave, who all helped get this done. And finally, thanks to you all, because without you, this doesn't matter.
Oh, wait,
Oh.
thanks to our moderator.
Thank you very much. That should have been done first. Okay, I'm just joking. Seriously, thanks to you all. You're the reason this happens. It's the voters. I mean, it's all of us, right? We are the voters. We are the people who live here. We are the people that matter. They're the people that what they do is going to matter. So I hope everyone's paying attention to this and other debates and what else is going on, and that we all remember to vote. Okay. Finally, before you leave, I'm going to ask that you pick up your chair jacket. The final joke. Okay, and that's it. We're done. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.